been amazing. I'm actually going, my job is easier now because half of my presentation was very well covered by many of you, so I think it will be easier to do it faster. So I'll start. My name is José Espírito Santo, I'm an economist, so I'm not going to talk about scientific stuff. I'll give a more holistic, economic, long-term perspective. In this case, a little bit about market perspective, if that's possible. We'll try to discuss a little bit that. So this one you already know. This one you already know. This one you already know. This one you already seen it. This one you already seen it. It was already done. And this one, it's not original, but it's interesting. We already have two countries, as you know. This is just a guess about the next ones. So just a little bit fun to discuss who's going to be the next one. I'm not even going to talk about this. I think you already covered everything, the biggest hurdles today. And I think I'll start from here. So, this slide is about a very important subject, the costs, and the rhythm that the costs will go down. In 1936, probably some of you know about Wright's law. It was a manager, aeronautic engineer that discovered that each time it doubled the production of the airplanes at the time, the cost went down a fixed percentage. Then we all know about the Moore's law and other laws that appeared afterwards. But the most important thing is that we do learn with experience, and I think it will happen the same as happened in different sectors that we already discussed here today. Good examples where there was a lot of government investment. We'll come back to that later. I think we'll manage to do the same in this sector. It's still very, very early, but what we have seen so far shows us that we are on the right track. We have seen some recent news about the huge decrease they've been getting in media and all the costs. So I think we still have a lot to cover, and the price will go down probably faster than what we think. So this, I think, are good news. I'm a little bit optimistic always about these things. This one, I'll talk a little bit more. I like to challenge this idea, we're all very worried about the price parity. I think the price parity will come earlier and will be higher price than what we think. Because when we think about price parity, we always compare a very recent early stage industry like cellular with traditional classic industry. And we assume that the price of the traditional meat will stay as it is. I think it will go up. And it will go up because we'll have taxes, green taxes, on this traditional, like we have now taxes on the oil, the gasoline cars. We'll have less government subsidies. We'll know that how much the subsidies to traditional agriculture represent compared to the sales of agriculture. It's a huge percentage. That will also go down because the money has to go somewhere else. We know about the costs of the water and the land that are going up, and that will be also another problem. And we know about the higher level of demand in terms of standard, health standard, and the consumer is demanding more and more of the traditional, the biological, etc. That all will contribute with also the costs, the lower productivity that will come in traditional agriculture as soon as they are not able to use as much antibiotics, which will be a huge thing in the future, and less hormones than they use today. So all of these factors will contribute to a higher, as we see here on the right, a higher price for the traditional product. On the other side, we know that the subsidies will have to come to our side too. Actually today, I think we are getting between 500 and 1,000 less subsidies than the traditional agriculture. Imagine if 10% of the subsidies that go to agriculture are directed to the cellular sector. That would constitute around $50 billion per year. That's a huge amount compared to the equity investments that have been done in this sector. Lower costs, already discussed that, and higher competition. Many companies, as you know, are coming, so the competition will be bigger each year. So, as happened in the plant-based, that's not good news, but that's the reality of the market. So costs, the prices, the margins will have also to come down. Today they're negative, I know, but as soon as they're positive, I don't think they'll grow so much because of that. So in the end, I think we'll get early parity at a higher price than what we are assuming today. So, and I also believe that the price parity is not needed for many products in the first years, probably in the first decade. The market will accept a premium for these products because they're better, they are cleaner, they're healthier, and they are rare. We'll not be able to offer the market as many products as we want. Governments, I already talked about subsidies. The world is giving $500 billion per year to the agricultural sector. That's a lot of money. The lobbies are also very strong, as we all know. We are seeing that happening in Italy and in other countries in Europe and some other countries in the world. And also the communication war, the labeling war. That's also a drag against the consumer. They're trying to confuse, to get people afraid. So these are all factors that the governments have to act very soon. And I also think that also very soon, maybe in 1 year at COP Dubai 24, we'll have the tipping point. I think at a certain point, the attention of the governments will change towards this sector. We all know that the Paris Agreement will not be achieved, the compromise to get to 1.5 to 2 degrees growth in temperature. And today, ONU just put a report saying that. So something has to be done. Either we give up, I don't think they will do that, just say we'll give up. They have to come forward with new solutions. And I think the agricultural revolution will be the next solution. And I think many resources will go towards this change. And they are very, very needed. I already talked about the taxes. So, what about this graph? Well, I don't know if some of you look at the stock market. I have a financial and banking background, so I still look at this every day. This is the codes of two well-known companies, the biggest in the plant-based sector, at least public companies, Beyond Meat and Oatly, and they went down more than 90%. So something is wrong. What is wrong with this sector? Can we learn anything about that? So we have this inquiry that was made by GFI and Spins, and people said they weren't very happy with the taste and also the cost, the texture. Well, there are different, they're worried about different things. I don't think these are really the main points, but we should have a look at them. And maybe, I agree, I'm a vegetarian for 14 years now, so I have an interest in this. I gave up the new products, the plant-based products. I cannot eat them anymore, I'm tired. So I went back to the lentils and the beans, and the traditional that I used to eat before. Because they are highly processed, they are not very healthy, actually. They have a lot of sodium, they have a lot of other products. because they're not meat. I mean, that's the biggest point. They're not meat. So we do have an opportunity here to come forward with a new product that is probably highly processed too, but doesn't need as much chemicals. I think we can add flavor with the fat. I think we can add texture, good looks. I think that's something that the plant-based did quite well, at least. I think we can, the future right now in the short, medium term is clearly the hybrid products. I think we can join forces and try to learn with our lack of success and complement the product. I'd like to tell you a little bit about this. This is something I didn't see that it wasn't so much discussed today, yesterday. We for many years, we have been eating less and less different species of animals and plants. I found out that easily that we eat 90% of the plants we eat are 15 different plants. 5 land animals represent 95% of what we eat. You all know what they are. And we at CellAgri keep looking at those. I wonder, they told me I have more 5 minutes. I wonder how... Sorry? 2, okay. I wonder if we shouldn't try with different animals, different flavors. There are millions of species that probably most of them cannot be farmed traditionally, but probably can be used in CellAgri. You probably know Val from Australia. That's an interesting company that is trying to explore this way. And let's see what happens. And of course, in fish aquaculture, I'm a co-founder of Cell4Food, so I'm very keen on this subject of the sea and the fish. We are completely, more than half of the fish we eat come from aquaculture and species. So, you're probably more interested in hearing about this. I mean, it's always difficult to make estimatives about the future, but here they are. I guess it shouldn't be much different. 1 trillion, 1.5 trillion, that's not the problem. Just don't look at this 1.5. Look at the growth of the animal protein. In 20 years, we'll be eating much more meat and fish than today. So I go back to the question of the transition. What transition? It's going to be very difficult to produce so much more meat and fish than today. So we'll never be able to produce this kind of quantity of cellular meat. I think we'll need thousands of times what we have today. So can you imagine how many thousands of engineers, of hectares, of machines, of trillions of dollars will be needed to get to this point and have so many tons of cellular meat to sell? So the problem is not demand. The problem is the capacity gap. That's the huge problem. It will only be solved with huge amounts of subsidies, long-term financing, project financing, and that's what we should be discussing. That's the real problem. And to finish, I'd like to tell you that this is more a holistic view, that I think values change. And I think that we will need to change the way we look in the long term to animals. I think that we do what we do to animals today because we don't have an alternative. As soon as we have an alternative, our minds will change. Doesn't make sense to kill billions of animals and treat the animals as we do today if we have an alternative. So I think I'm a grandfather for 2 weeks now. I'm very excited. Thank you. And I have to look at the future and think about my granddaughter. And I think not my granddaughter, but the son or the granddaughter of my granddaughter will probably be at school learning that many years ago humans did these atrocities, and she'll probably feel a little bit ashamed. So I think we need to have a different view on on the planet and on humans and trying to change things. So we need to go faster, and we're trying to help to get there as soon as possible. Thank you very much for the team, CellAgri Portugal, for the opportunity.
Questions?
I have a question. Very nice presentation, by the way. This morning, Isalatar told that through agriculture is a way to democratize well, it's more democratic than regular agriculture. However, if I think about the ownership of the intellectual property, I mean the genome of the organism, of the partner organism, right now is concentrated in a few companies, Cargill, Pioneer, etc. Do you think that this evolution from the traditional terroir farmers through the big companies will be evolution that will happen in through agriculture? So the intellectual property, the knowledge will be concentrated in a few companies that will have the technology to produce a short number of cells that will be commercial, available for everyone. I will see it.
Unfortunately, I would say yes. It's all about the capital. We have a huge deficit. I was telling you, we need trillions to make this possible. So the money will have to come from the big corporations. They will be the well-positioned as they are now. Cargill, Tyson, JBS, they're all on top of this. They're leading the way. I think the governments have a responsibility here, so there's to change the way things are and facilitate a lot of these subsidies so that the startups and new companies can approach the market with a different view. I don't like, I'm not against big corporations, but I don't think it makes sense for this revolution to be done by the owners of today's traditional agriculture. I think there's space for everyone. I think they have a lot to do in their own industry right now, but I think they're smart in investing, like Luzianos here, investing in this sector. So I'm positive about that, but I think in the end, the big corporations will do because the capital is king.
Fortunately, I agree.
Yeah, that's the truth.
More questions? No? Okay, so thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.